Hi, I'm Ryan from Ambient. So, it's been a while since I made a video. I missed you guys. Is that weird? That's weird. Anyways, I'm back, and today I wanted to talk about delays and all the ways that we can use it to add ambience to the tracks that we're creating. I decided to make this video because I've been writing some music of my own, and if you've watched any of the videos on this channel, then you're aware that I like to add ambient textures to a lot of my tracks, even though they might not be ambient tracks or ambient music per se. I like to kind of sit a lot of the music that I write on a bed of ambient textures. I just like it and thought we'd go over it today. And because we're talking about textures, it isn't going to be strictly 100% just about delays. I will sort of touch on different things that we can do with the delays. So I will be adding some reverb, and I will be adding some like filtering, EQ, but it all starts with the delays, and that's kind of where I wanted to focus our attention this week. So while this video isn't going to strictly be about delay, it is going to be the majority of what we go over, and we're going to use it as sort of the fundamental effect that's going to get us to all the other places that we're going to go and to our final product, or my final product, however you want to put it. It's not clickbait, it is about delay. Before we get fully into it and I walk you through exactly what it is that I wanted to show you and what I've been doing, let's have a quick primer on what delay even is, because everyone's at a different level and you might not even know that there are three main types of delay and the ones that I'm going to be using and going over. So let's hit on that really fast. If you don't want to go over this, the video is timestamped, so jump to the... So first up is tape delay, and this basically comes from delay using magnetic tape. The effect worked by a tape recording a sound and being fed back through the playback head shortly after, which would kind of create a delayed effect. If you added more heads, you'd have more delays. Tape delay was also made famous by units like the Roland Space Echo, I think it was Roland, the Echoplex, but basically those gave you control over the spacing and the feedback. So it wasn't just one delay, but you could get multiple delays. The next type of delay is an analog delay. It's basically just a tape delay, but a different way of getting there. Instead of using playback heads and tape, the mechanics behind an analog delay use what's called a bucket brigade circuit. And within the circuit are just capacitors, and they take a sample of the original signal and pass it along to the next capacitor, sort of like what actual bucket brigade did with water and putting out fires. The results are really similar to tape delay, but they have a much darker sound because they're passing through a low pass filter to keep the sound quality. And the last type of delay is a digital delay. It's probably the most common type of delay used today. It's basically the cleanest delay. Digital delay started out as an outboard unit, then it went to pedals used by guitarists. It uses digital signal processing electronics. Unlike analog or tape delay, which weren't as precise, digital delay was just a strict repeat of whatever the sound source was. With that little primer out of the way, let's jump into Logic and start messing with our delays. I'm just going to record in a little excerpt of the piece that I've been working on and what kind of gave me this whole idea in the first place. So here, let me just record it in real quick. Now that I have this excerpt recorded in, I am going to send it to a bus by opening a bus and sending it all there. And on that bus is where I'll add the delay. So let's go into Logic and add a stereo delay. So what's really cool about the stereo delay is that I'm just going to turn these down, the right and left mix down, and turn the feedback all the way up to 100, which means it's almost going to be acting like a delay pedal. So I stop it, you're just going to hear this forever. Okay, so I'm going to take the left delay. I'll make the time kind of short. I'll take the right delay and make it kind of long. Should we tempo sync it? Yeah, we'll tempo sync it. Okay, so now when we play it, So that's what I'm getting on the right side. And on the left side, the left is a really short delay. Now, in this plugin, what's really nice is I can add filtering. So I can add a high cut and low cut. So if I take the low, it's really gonna smooth out some of that. But I kind of liked what it was doing. Okay. And you can always obviously play around with what's happening in terms of the delay times. So another thing really quick is that's pretty cool is because this is a digital delay, these repeats aren't going to degrade. They're not going to fade out. They'll go on forever. So the more you feed it, the more it builds. So if I started the track from the beginning all the way to the end, we're going to have a very different delay than if I play it for a 3-second clip. So what I'll do, and I won't have you sit through this whole thing, is I'm going to just play it all and we'll see what the result we get after we've recorded the whole thing. And to record that is one of the things I like to do, is I like to make this its own track. So instead of having the stereo out, I'm going to send the out to a bus. So I'm going to jump down to bus 10. So now it's coming out of bus 10. If I create a new track, I'm going to create a new audio track, and the input is just going to be bus 10. So now I'm going to mute it, record arm it. All right, so when I start recording, now I'm going to get this audio 3, we'll call it the stereo delay, is just going to be this effect recorded, so we can mess with it as much as we want later. Okay, so now that it's recorded, let's take a listen to what just this delay sounds like. It starts off. And once the piece has been going for the whole time, we're going to get a much different. You still sort of hear the audio in there. And then I faded it out at the end. So that's one method of doing it, and that's with a digital delay. Another way that you can affect the sound is, let's try to use an analog delay. So we'll turn this bus off, which is our first delay, and we'll send it to the Cooper Time Cube. And I like the Cooper Time Cube. I literally learned about it this week from a buddy of mine when I was asking him questions about delay, and he kind of turned me on to this plugin that we own. And it's kind of similar to what we just had, but these delays will go away. So I'm going to set the first delay at around 9. We'll set this, or let's see, the first delay around 8. The second one we'll set around 25. We'll set it really, really long. We'll set the decays, which is like the feedback, all the way up. We'll pan them left and right, not all the way. Turn the volume up, turn it on wet because we are in a bus, so we want the wet solo on. And let's see what that sounds like if we feed it to the Cooper Time Cube. So it's a little bit of a different flavor. Let's record it anyways. So let's send this, set a stereo out. We'll send it to bus 11. Create our new track. All right, so let's solo this guy. This guy's muted. All right. So let's listen back to the Cooper Time Cube and see what it sounds like. And let's compare that to how it sounds with the, let's compare it to the stereo delay. So because the stereo delay doesn't really degrade the volume or the repeats, you get much more of a drone with the stereo digital delay from Logic. And I actually really like it. So, you know, what I would normally do is I would have this piano line going. Let's use the digital delay. And just have it sitting there. I would automate it in and out. So once I have the piano line in and the delay going, I like to sort of mess around with the delay now to not just only get it to our final state, but also create other effects that add to the texture. Okay, so before I go into the Filter Freak, you'll notice that the screen's a little different, and that's because originally I was trying to recreate what I had made for a YouTube video instead of just doing what I should have done and just gone into the Logic track. I try to recreate it because I try to make it a little cleaner. If you'll notice, I work sort of unorganized in an unorganized fashion, and I wanted it to be a little clearer. Now that I've explained sort of what I did, I thought it might be better to go into the actual session so you can see what I did with the automation. So if you look at the purple lines here, this is what the Filter Freak automation is, and I'm automating basically the frequency, and that's it, and the volume. So if you look at the volume of Filter Freak, I'm sort of just a little bit of automation there. And I'm also automating the volume of the delay with the reverb. I ended up going with the Cooper Time Cube delay and the stereo delay, sort of just panned a little left and a little right together, and it all sounds like this. Okay, and yeah, you'll notice the piano is a little different. Um, Everything's just a little bit different, but this is the original session that I started messing with all of this in, and I like it. And you know, it is a little unorganized because sometimes when I work and I'm trying to figure out something different, it does look like a bit of a mess. I'm sure some of my friends would scold me a little bit for this. Essentially, what's important here is getting the stereo delay the way you like it. And I mean, these are actually reverbs, but sending it to a delay, well, it's not even that delay. Where's the delay? So basically sending it to this delay, if I just soloed this delay here, let me unsolo everything so I can. So if you look at bus 16 here, I'm using that stereo delay that I talked about earlier, and I'm sending it to EMT 250. And if you hear some of that craziness, is bus 18 and 20. And bus 18 has a tremolator on it, which can be really nice if you kind of duck it back in. And bus 20 is basically just sending it to the Cooperstown delay. I'm doing that somewhere else too, but I call it the Cooperstown. That's where the Hall of Fame is. The Cooper Time Cube. And in making this video, I didn't even mention it before. I found out that the Cooper Time Cube is an analog delay. Maybe I'll put this up on the screen. It is an analog delay, but it's not a tape delay, and it's not a bucket brigade delay. It is actually using a garden hose, and there's microphones strategically placed at, I think, 14 milliseconds and 16 milliseconds and 30 milliseconds. And you can choose on the hardware where you want the microphone to be picked up from, but that's how it got its delay. It's using a garden hose, and it was invented in 1971, and it's kind of crazy if you look at a picture of this thing, what they did and what ingenuity it will get you when you don't want to use a bucket brigade and you don't want to use a tape delay. And it was not very successful. It's just kind of gained a cult following nowadays. But anyways, send your delay to different effects and you'll get really cool results. I really like the tremolator. Gotta kind of use it sparingly, but anyways. All right, back to back to the video. Your imagination is really the limit when you're working like this. The buses are a great way to work because you always have your track that you started with and it's always dry and it's always the way you want it, and then you're just adding things on top of it. Unlike a guitar pedal board where effect A is going to effect B, C, D in order, you can get a lot more creative with your routing using buses. If you're in a live setting, you can achieve the same thing by using a mixer and just routing the same effect to different buses on a mixer and have the effects on those buses. And before I go, I just did want to explain really quick why I took such a long absence. I haven't made a video in about a month and a half, and it's been a lot of things. First and foremost, I had to reorganize the studio yet again. For reasons I won't go into, I had to move the baby grand piano that was downstairs into the studio, and there was already no room to do anything in here. So I had to sort of reimagine how I was gonna set up everything, and actually works a lot better. I added a whole baby grand piano up in this small little space, and it feels like there is more room now than there was before. So the only part is I had to kind of go back on what I told you guys I was really excited about, which was unplugging everything and being way more intentional with the gear that I used. I had to go back to where everything is plugged in all the time, which is kind of a drag, but I'm just being more intentional about what I use. After I rewired the studio and had to make new schematics and all of that, I had some personal travel, and when I got back from that, I got sick for about a week. And then when I got done with that, I ended up working on a weird project where I ripped apart my childhood piano and made it a case for my keyboard. On top of all that, I am preparing for a new album release, so I've been trying to finish the writing, which is kind of how you got the delay video today, and prepare for recording. Another little bit of housekeeping is I decided to sort of change formats, and I'm not scripting anything anymore. It's probably obvious, but for the last like year or so, I've been using a teleprompter and like detailed scripting my videos, which is nice because it makes, you know, filming B-roll and knowing exactly what I'm talking about a lot faster. But I found that it was taking me a lot longer to make the videos, which meant that I was only able to do like once every 2 weeks, and I really wanted to post every week. So I'm gonna switch for 1 month. I'm gonna switch to not scripting them, just kind of talking to the camera about a topic, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm wondering now if I'm gonna be able to fucking stitch this thing together and get a good video. It's very interesting. I don't know. So comment below whether or not you like this format better or worse, but let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video on delay and other things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.